The death of merit in science.
Yeah. Okay.
This was interesting.
Yeah, and I had no idea about this.
Me neither. And I kind of like this idea, to be honest, because I personally like looking into the people who are conducting these studies. So explain it. It's because people are lost if they don't know what we're talking about.
Let me find this on my end. Yeah, the death of merit in science. This was a out of the Washington Examiner from a lady named Debra Soh. She's like a mixed Asian author, researcher, whatnot.
S-O-H, her last name. Debra Soh. No H in Debra.
And this was based off a science.com publication. And it's about whether scientists should include positionality statements when publishing their research. And positionality statements are like the race, your sexual orientation, like your identity. Is basically like a political identity, or the what's the word? The identity politics type deal, where you live, how you grew up, and that's where that positionality statement plays a part in what you were saying. Like you see where this almost where the science come from, because of the person is basing everything off of their viewpoint of life instead of the science thing,
right?
And instead of just looking at the science. And that's how I saw it as. But I see where you're coming from. Is you like it, but it's just, I guess the political identity thing. That's where it plays, and it pushes certain narratives to, like the Chinese virus, to, HIV/AIDS and climate change, because they all have a political agenda.
Definitely.
And I know there are people in that realm and area that have those political agendas that would follow that positionality statement.
Yeah, it's an interesting word, positionality. So my position as a white male Christian upper middle class,
right?
All of these things that they would identify me as, and partially Christian things that I partially identify myself. Science, one of the world's most prestigious scientific journals, reads this article by Debra Soh in Washington Examiner, published an article last week querying whether scientists should include positionality statements when publishing research. The purpose of a positionality statement, quote unquote, is to offer details about the author's personal characteristics, such as their race, sex, sexual disorientation, gender misidentity, and geographic location, among other things. The practice originated in the social sciences, which are not science, this socialism, communism, I think, with the goal of improving inclusivity and drawing attention to power imbalances, especially if a science isn't part of the so-called community that he or she is studying. And this gal, Debra Soh, says any precious free time that scientists have should be devoted first towards staying sane in such a fast-paced environment, and to applying for additional funding so they may remain gainfully employed, because scientists don't produce value on their own. They have to get subsidized.
Right, yeah.
And then their findings can be used to produce valuable practices, I guess, maybe, sometimes.
They do. I'll give them that.
Okay.
I'll give them that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's, you pay for what you see value in. And some people pay for stuff that's they wrongly imagine value in, and some people pay for stuff that actually is valuable. Like people pay for Hake, and sometimes Hake provides, nominal value. People buy Hake coffees. Appreciate it. You guys are my patrons. Interesting.
Yeah. Were you about to say something?
This gal continues.
Yeah,
When reading
okay.
scientists' positionality statements, I can't help but feel extremely uncomfortable as though I'm reading a hostage statement. Because some of these people aren't doing it voluntarily.
Right.
It comes as out of place, invasive to read detailed descriptions about a researcher's racial background, age, socioeconomic status, where they grew up, and other erroneous tidbits about their life while simultaneously knowing they likely had to declare this information to have their findings published or to graduate. Oh, because schools are pushing this stuff.
Yeah.
And schools are corrupted they're totally infiltrated
Yeah.
by the liberals. And these people need government funding sometimes, and the
Majority of
government's
time.
corrupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, the majority of the time, true.
Yeah.
The current ideological obsession with replacing objectivity and excellence with diversity, equity, and inclusion fanaticism will only derail future scientific achievement. I agree with that. It will deter anyone it'll deter anyone belonging to a so-called overrepresented groups, white, Asian men, from pursuing scientific endeavors regardless of how competent or passionate they are. They'll risk coming to believe the value of their work won't be based on merit, but rather the circumstances they were born into. This Debra Soh gal is a sex neuroscientist, by the way.
Yeah.
The Dr. Debra Soh podcast, End of Gender, debunking the myths about sex and identity in our society. Her name sounds familiar. I wonder if Jesse interviewed her before, or...
When I was reading up on her, what came across my mind is she did a Salon piece about I guess, what was it, like in a pedophile maybe?
Oh, yeah.
This was like back in 2015. I remember reading about, when I seen it, I was like, okay. And then it said something about her doing some Salon article. And I was like, oh, I think I know, because Salon always plays in my mind with that story. So she was
Salon
the one
is
that
a far left,
right,
but sort of interesting sometimes.
Right, sometimes it can be. And she was the one who did that article for that guy. I forgot what his name was, like Nickelodeon or Nickerson or something like that.
Okay.
That she said she wasn't portraying him as any type of way. And in a sense, she wasn't. It was almost a sense of something, how Jesse would say is, that's not who he is.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
He's caught up.
Yeah.
He's in his mind. Things like that. And a lot of people were.
This Nickerson guy was he like interested in the wrong way in children?
Yeah, yeah.
In the S word.
And allegedly he never
right?
done anything, but
yeah.
he was just, his mind was there.
Right.
And, which, yeah, of course it was.
Yep.
But he had, and that's what she was saying. He had never done anything. It was just, that was his interest.
Yeah. He was twisted.
Yeah,
in
very
his,
much so. Yeah. Oh,
attractions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man.
But yeah, so that's who she is. That's where I guess one of her most popular things was at the time. And I checked out her podcast, like just one show, maybe about 15 minutes of it. And I seen I guess she has a piece or a part in Matt Walsh's documentary.
What is a Woman?
What is a Woman? Right? Yeah, yeah. Because I seen her take a picture and they were talking about it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess she's
one of the more reasonable,
right?
Maybe
yeah,
liberal still, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah, but still a little more reasonable when it comes to things like this.
Yeah. I mean, she told the truth about Asian and white men.
Yeah,
getting discriminated against,
right.
potentially, with this positionality mess.
And that's the thing, is the once again, hey, let's get rid of the whites, and let's get rid of the people with merit, period. And I said that with the Caltech situation when they were getting rid of the calculus classes.
Right.
And you could take them however you want to. It's the same thing. You're getting rid of certain things certain individuals don't fall into.
Yep.
Or you're making a position of, we're only going to go this route, and this is what you get, a meritless science. And that's what it's based off of, is the merit, for anything, any situation.
True.
Instead of just grabbing anyone off the street and now putting their spin on it. Because that's, to me, that's another thing. They're putting a spin on it. Yeah, we know you're from such and such place, but now it's you're from South Central. Now we're going to put the spin that your 85 Cadillac that I have is is disturbing the climate somehow. Things like they just any little thing like that's just a anomaly. But that's where it goes to. That
For sure.
now it's inclusivity with your sexual orientation or disorientation, as you said. That, they have to put that in. It has to be in there somehow, and it's forced also.
I like it because I like seeing who's really behind this, because it kind of tells you about where this study is coming from,
right? Yeah,
what the motivations might be, whether this person is really this clear objective thinker.
Yeah.
Because if you're in that world, your thinking is more slanted.
Mm-hmm.
You're more likely to be brainwashed in different ways, and your whole premise is going to be off.
Yeah.
Your whole hypothesis or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be some way, the way you want it to be.
Yeah. They'll ask a question that, of course, it's going to be this, but that doesn't lead you to the right conclusion.
Right.
They're not getting to the root.
Right. And that's the same with like these weaponized judges and AGs and things like that. You look into it. I look into it to try to find what's this person's angle.
Yeah.
At life and what. So I guess it's the same exact situation.
I try to go early life check on some of these judges.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not a Christian. And of course, Kevin Howe points out Joe Biden is a quote unquote Christian, and all these people are like all the rhinos, bunch of Christians by and large.
Right.
But it also tells you just something about them.
Sure
I
does.
like to know what their life was like, because they're just dumb, silly human beings, idiots like all of us.
Yeah.
The FBI are not. Some of them are quite bright and clever.
Right.
But it doesn't make them gods.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it's come to. It's, no merit whatsoever. I wrote down these experts. The experts are like, they're just eggheads.
Yeah.
They don't really have anything worth anything. It's all a slanted view.
You had an example of a woman who pushes this positionality statement.
Yeah,
is this a woman, right? Is it a real woman? Okay. I'm so traumatized.
As far as I can go back, it's a real woman.
Okay. Julie Martin. I have a picture of this gal in that Death of Merit folder, Hassan.
And I got her information from the science.com piece that Debra Soh wrote on. So she's in there. She's, I guess, a top engineering woman, whatever she was with. I had a note about it.
This is not a T person. This is not a trans person chat. We're pretty sure. It's so messed up that it's poisoned our minds that this, mildly attractive gal with nice hairdo, dressed like a lady, pearl necklace, and dress, slightly corpulent, wearing, dressed up like a lady, and I look at it and I'm like, is this a transgender? It's so messed up. But anyway, who is this gal?
It's Julie Martin. She's the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Women and Minorities in Science and Engineering. And she's required positionality statement since it has July 2020. And she's, I think, from originally University of Georgia, one of those higher, of course, professors.
Yeah.
And so this is something I've never heard of, but it's been around for quite a while.
So positionality statement since July 2020, that was the summer of love.
That was it, the summer of love.
The summer of burn, loot, murder, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, insurrection on the country in the name of Georgia, Florida. This gal was a scientist, university gal, dumb liberal, Julie Martin. Show her picture one more time. This Julie Martin gal, editor-in-chief of the Journal of Women and Minorities in Science and Engineering. Oh, Lord. They've required positionality statements, which is SJW identity, misidentity statements, false identity, shallow identity. Since July of 2020, so for over 3 years, we're in November 2023. This one
Oh yeah,
fell for it. She looks like she would have fallen for it.
definitely.
Mildly attractive, I guess. I don't think that's a normal. Is that her natural hair color? Shout out to the brunettes who bleach their hair or whatever you want to call it. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. It really is. And again, like you say, more than likely she's a liberal.
Yeah, that's kiss up culture right
Yeah.
there.
And there was something else that I caught her on, but I can't open the article that I see now that I got the information from. But she's been around forever.
Okay.
I just can't pinpoint any background on her.
Okay.
So I really don't know much about her other than, the inclusivity, the diversity. That's what she's pushing.
Yeah. I mean, if you're editor-in-chief of the Journal of Women and
Yeah.
Minorities in Science and Engineering, then you have an agenda other than
No doubt.
real stuff.
No doubt about it.
Spoiler alert, shares a quote, positionality statements are just the tip of the iceberg moving towards a reflexive process by Julie Martin. So she's saying, that's what she posted in, in 2022. That was her article, I guess?
Yes.
Interesting.
And volume 28 at that. So she puts out things maybe monthly, it seems like.
Okay. Journal of Women and Minorities in Science and Engineering.
And there's numerous amounts of articles in here. Just stop. Diverse, high-achieving young women in the pursuit of engineering, access, accumulation, and activation of capital. Those are just,
Oh, yeah.
just over and over. All these articles that are in this journal they sound exactly the same. Examining collegiate black males, STEM trajectories, the crucial role of their black fathers, which
True.
that's true, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some true, factual, useful information
Right, yeah.
being put out even in this darkness.
Right, yeah. Exploring queerness and community among LGBTQ citizen science volunteers. Everything has to do, every single thing,
gosh.
race or sex or any identity, something that has to do with some type of identity. Identity politics all the way. SJW life, SJW science rather. And it doesn't produce anything.
True. Yeah.
Just like you say, it lets you know where that research is going and how skewed it is.
And the motivation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting, man.